I've just realised that you might have cursed my podcast by doing Macbeth.
I hope not. I don't think so. Maybe I'll curse myself. Who knows?
You're like, God, it explains so much.
Most unwise. Why did I do it?
Okay, so come on. We must now be very serious. Tell me what the speech is that you have picked as your favourite speech, Toby.
So my speech that I've chosen is from Macbeth. It's a very famous speech, but it's the one where he sees the dagger. Is this a dagger which I see before me? And the reason that I love this, I saw Macbeth. It was one of the first Shakespeare plays I saw as a child. I must have been about 5 or 6 when I first saw it. I think about 6. And I was entranced by it. I mean, it's such a brilliant play. It's very pithy. It's not a very long play. And it packs such a punch because it's got so much packed inside it. And you know, I think that this speech sort of sums up everything that I love about the play, because it's right at the heart of the play. It's just before Macbeth kills Duncan, and it's this moment of silence, this pause while he's waiting for the bell to toll, which is his signal to go and do it. And he sees this dagger, and you know, the questions that are asked in it is, you know, is it some apparition? Is it part of the witch's mystic, this whole mystic side to the play? Or is it his conscience? Is it a manifestation of his conscience? And Shakespeare is deliberately ambiguous about this, I think, throughout the whole play. I just think it's a fantastic piece. I think that's where theatre and poetry are so much more profound than something that's very literal. It engages a part of the mind, or confuses the mind in a way that actually opens up more possibilities. It allows you to make connections with things that you know, that you wouldn't necessarily make connections with if it was just a literal thing. It elicits an audience to suddenly to ask all these questions, and opens up the situation to interpretation. And I think that that's much more interesting.
Yes.
And I think it is a very deliberate thing that Shakespeare does with it. You know, soliloquies are, you know, they are somebody alone processing something. His soliloquies are great because they move things forward. There's a sort of misapprehension that, oh, it's just you know, it's a bit where somebody comes on and they noodles. They do a bit of kind of navel gazing. It's actually an active thing. It's like, I mean, it is a moment of quiet that he has, but it does move the whole thing forward, and it reveals something that's going on inside the character.
Who played the Macbeth when you first saw it? Do you remember?
I do. I remember vividly. I saw it. My mother is an actress, and she was performing at Festival Theatre in Canada. We moved there for about 4 years in the end, and she was it was the Stratford Festival Theatre there, and there was a wonderful actor called Brian Bedford. Even though I was a child and I didn't understand everything, I completely followed what was going on. I followed the main narrative. I always remember the bit with Banquo, because they had this, it was great. They had this whole scene with people milling around the table. There were loads of actors all like milling around the table, celebrating. And there was suddenly this moment where it went to blackout, and there were just 2 spots, and there was one on Macbeth and one on Banquo, and you hadn't noticed him. He was just there in the crowd, and it was like bam, and then suddenly he's there, and you're like, oh my God. You know, and it was this electric moment. You know, that's what's so great about the play. It was so simple. It was done in a very simple, there wasn't dry ice and flying witches. It was just done in this very, very simple way. Because actually you don't need much. It's so much done in the language.
When I went to university, I did Macbeth as my first play my first student play. In that, the director's idea was that Banquo's ghost should look like a person whose skin had just been stripped off them. So he should just be covered in blood. For those who haven't worked with fake blood, a typical recipe is golden syrup, or something a bit like golden syrup, with
it's glucose, basically.
Yeah, and mixed with some kind of red colouring. And I remember this poor guy, his name was Paddy Oldham. He had to be covered from head to toe. He was wearing a tiny little pair of Y fronts and then covered from head to toe in this stuff. And to this day, the smell of sort of syrup makes me want to gag.
I feel your pain.
Have you ever had a major stage fake blood part?
I have. A long time ago, I played Coriolanus, and there was a scene where I had to come out of. There's the sequence where he goes into Coriolis single-handed and slaughters everyone. Comes out, and I was literally covered from head to foot. And for the rest of the production, for the rest of the evening, I was stained. It looked like I had a bad tan. You know what I mean? Like an orange. I was slightly orange. No matter how much they washed it off.
It stains.
And it was one night where Finbar Lynch, wonderful actor,
wonderful
was playing,
Finbar Lynch.
Oh, brilliant. He was playing Talasor videos. We had this huge fight. I remember coming out and I was covered in blood. And one night, Finbar kicked me in the face accidentally during our fight. There was this bit where he had to kick, and I had to put my hand in front. It makes a nice noise, and then my head flung back, and he went driving right through my hand and whacked my nose with his foot, and my nose just exploded, and there was real blood coming out, but nobody knew because I was covered in blood already, so they just assumed it was all part of the thing. And
did you know? Were you aware that there was blood?
Oh man, I knew. I was like, I'm in trouble. Really. I thought it was broken. It wasn't in the end. But my lip, my nose kind of went for the rest, and my lip go. So suddenly, Coriolanus suddenly talking like this.
Not so badass.
Yeah.
I remember seeing an image of your Coriolanus shirt. I think the RSC has it in they must have an exhibition of old costumes, of sort of quite notorious costumes. So like the Richard III, my brain's gone blank, who was the one who did the spider?
Anthony Sher.
The Anthony Sher, that's it. Yeah. The Anthony Sher Richard III costume is there. And yes, your bloody Coriolanus shirt is there.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They've obviously
still dyed pink.
Still dyed pink.
I personally think, controversially,
go on,
that there should be a moratorium on doing these plays. Like, give them a rest, put them to bed for like a decade, and then let's have a look on. I mean, it's a wish. I would kind of wish we could do that, and I do think that they have something to say. They still have something to say to us.
Completely.
They are very. Like Greek plays do, they have something essential and they're very important to us. They lose it somehow. I think they've lost a lot of that. And I think we need to maybe just put them to bed for a while. Obviously, we can't. The RSC functions entirely on the fact.
Of course, I had forgotten about the RSC and the Globe.
And the Globe,
they'd be scuppered.
What would they do? It's like put it in mothballs for 10 years, and then But I just wish they could.